Morning and welcome to Henry County's March 12th Commissioner meeting. If you'll stand and join me in the pledge and a short prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless our nation. We ask for guidance while conducting county business. We ask that you grant us wisdom, that the decisions we make not only benefit our community, but are pleasing to you. All these things we ask in your name. Amen. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes of last meeting? And if so, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Commissioners had an opportunity to review the claims, and if so, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review payroll? If so, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve payroll. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. I have the monthly clerk's report. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve clerk's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Also have a monthly treasurer's report. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. We have the affidavit for payment for the park for the amount of $32,860.20 for the Memorial Park pond fund. Payment is to R.B. Jurgens. Do I have a motion? Yes.
Sorry, my tape failed. Is this the normal format for paying through food and beverage? I just haven't seen one. Is this how they all come through affidavit this way?
Yes.
There's nothing unique about it.
Nope.
Okay.
No, this food and beverage is what was awarded by council last year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Penny. Any questions for EDC? Hearing none,
Thank you, Penny.
seeing no one from the chamber. Mr. Estel.
Morning. Three items, shouldn't take too long. You probably recall last year that we ended up moving parts of our insurance to a March 1st effective date from the original July 15th. So those did come up for renewal. And the plan was to be at the last meeting, and as we communicated via email, the negotiations on the pricing went into the Thursday before the Saturday renewal, but it was fruitful, and we ended up getting about $60,000 trimmed off of the Trident original proposal. So everything is renewed on 3/1 except the property crime and inland marine, which is the equipment. And there's multiple carriers involved there. We've got two carriers actually on the law enforcement alone. Then we've got Trident on the auto and general liability, and umbrella, and then Chubb on the public officials. Our exposures, which are number of vehicles, dollars on vehicles, and then the general liability, umbrella, and public officials are based on budget and expenditures. We're up overall about 5%. So we were up on those items, was going to drive about 5% a rate. We landed at a 14% overall increase, so about 9%. I would say there were areas this year that were better, but we had a couple incidents that certainly probably are of concern to the carrier. Again, like normal, we're not going to talk about those in detail in a public meeting, because of litigation. But so while some areas we were better, we still had some challenges. So I just wanted to share that the travelers pieces. We've gotten indications we're not going to see a ton of movement on the property, which is great because the property market's still in the tank. It's awful. But Travelers continues to look at the East Central Indiana as a fairly favorable wind hail spot on their map, where a lot of carriers maybe not so much. So all the discussions are that renewal will look good. So any questions on the property and casualty piece?
Not yet.
Okay. And that's all executed. Just an update. I just yesterday got the employee benefits claims reporting for February. And so we're 9 months into our contract. We're a June 1 date on that. We are $725,000 below expected claims through 9 months. So really positive there. The other positive is that we can all knock on wood, but only 2 claimants so far through 9 months over 45,000, which is half of our individual deductible. That's where we really start tracking. And the largest of those was a joint replacement. So not something ongoing of concern. So that all looks good for now. We have the preliminary renewal numbers on the stop loss for June. The carriers wanted to see the February claims, so they'll be looking at that this week. And we are looking at a reduction at this point on the claims and fixed costs for June for next year. So all in all, in that space, really, really great news. And that continues to perform, the way it has the last couple of years.
Awesome. I like hearing good news. Don't get it very often.
Yeah. Yeah. So any other questions?
Any questions?
Thank you, Josh.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Departments, I don't see Angela, but
I've got some for
Debbie, do you
Angela.
have that?
Yeah. So Angela is requesting to apply for 2 grants. One of them is an HPAI grant, a readiness grant. It will only be used fully, it will not be used fully unless they have a case of either actual or an exposure to an infected animal. She got that one. And then she also got a Teens Linked to Care. It's a large grant spanning 2 and 2.5 years, and it focuses on mental health of teenagers, grades 9 through 12. She's just asking to be able to apply for those grants.
Any questions from the commissioners? Do I have a motion to allow Angela to apply for these grants?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to allow the grant applications to move forward. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Mr. Clark. Braden. Yeah, go ahead. This is going to be painful.
Well, I guess I could follow up your good news with some bad news, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Just want to give a update on our small structure inspections, where we're at with that. We currently have had to close 3 roads. One of those roads is 850 East, just south of 38. That was closed last week. 2 that we just closed this morning, 700 North, right outside of Honey Creek, between the 525 West and 500 West. And then the second one we closed this morning, 850 West, between 575 North and 700 North. And those 3 roads will be closed indefinitely until we figure out how we're going to get these structures replaced. The inspection is still ongoing. It's my understanding the first phase of these inspections should be done hopefully by the end of this month. So hopefully we don't have any more. I do know of one more that does need to be replaced. I'm not sure they're gonna close the road over it, but, I do know of one other structure that is, well, it's a double pipe, the bottom of the pipes are rusted out. So I'm not sure they'll close that down over that. But it is potential that, you know, we could be looking at a few more before this is over with, so. Any
You're right, it's not
questions?
good news. I don't like hearing that.
No.
Well, we'll have to look in to see what we can do, because I know the one out on the east end of the county will become critical in September, so we probably ought to have that one as a priority to do something with.
Yeah, it's already causing problem because there's a, bus from Hagerstown that turned around just north of that structure, in the church parking lot there. And so now we're gonna have to make improvements to something, out there so that that school bus can get turned around there on the south side of that structure since it can't cross the structure now, so.
Okay.
Not sure about Shenandoah, how that's gonna affect them and their bus routes up in the northern part, but potentially could affect them as well, so we may be
For
looking at.
these concrete structures so far?
So far, all three structures are
So far.
concrete structures, yes. Yep. Which all three of them were actually on the list. We put a small list together this year of ones that we need to look at replacing ASAP. So these were already on the priority list, but obviously weren't able to get to them fast enough before the roads got closed.
I'm sure you already heard discussion from the work session. I think that if there is any possibility of bonding, this definitely had consensus as the top need, but there's just a question of if it's possible right now because of
Yeah.
changes with the state,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I mean, obviously that plays a factor into things as well, but it's,
The status of
Do-
today is still
we'll
the
do
same.
what we
I
can
understand.
with what we can do it with, and I mean, unfortunately, we don't have the money, roads are gonna have to stay closed. But, so that's where we're at with the small structure inspections right now. So,
Okay.
any other questions?
No, you've depressed me enough this
Okay.
morning.
How many are they inspecting altogether? Is that a no number?
Believe it's 230 structures.
Because it's over 200. I just couldn't
Yeah,
remember
I
what.
believe it's 230.
Have any idea what percentage they've already inspected?
I'm not sure on that. It's done in two phases. We gave them a list of 50, I think it was 55 structures that was, on our priority list that we wanted them to look at first. So, those are the first ones that they were looking at. I'm not sure, how far through those 55 they are, but I know it was gonna be done in two different phases of the whole 230 structures.
Yeah.
So. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Nobody from the surveyor's office. Mr. Green, you have nothing? See anybody from the sheriff's department? Debbie,
I have, that I just got from Baker Tilly, is the agreement for the comprehensive plan. It's the exact same agreement that we always have with them. It's not to exceed $25,000.
okay.
Do you remember what it was last year?
Same.
Do I have a motion to accept the Baker Tilly agreement? Or not?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, accept Baker Tilly letter agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. Anything else, Debbie?
Nope, that's all I have.
Jenny? Buddy from the park, Jody? Lisa? Oh, I hate even asking Gabe. Brian?
Sure.
I'll just give you a quick update about our generator. I talked to Steve last
Yep.
Wednesday. They came out last Monday to do our semi-annual preventative maintenance. They had some issues after they changed the fuel filters. They thought they had everything going. It was working when they left Monday. For our weekly test last Wednesday, it did not start. Tried to manually start it, couldn't get it started, so I called them. They were gonna send the emergency person out and got checking their notes, and apparently they had left notes from Monday that if we continued having issues, it may need a couple parts replaced. They hadn't told me that. They weren't sure if they had those parts or when they'd be able to get them. Because ours was down, I went ahead and had them bring out an emergency generator just because we can't risk not having something if there's a power outage. So we've still got that. Last I heard, the parts are back ordered. They can't tell me how long. I asked 2 days ago to get an estimate and I have not heard back. They were actually supposed to give me a quote as of Friday and I've not gotten even a quote on what the parts are even gonna cost. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. They're not being very, they're not staying in touch at all. Not sure what's going on, but we still have the rental. I didn't think a weekly rental was too bad for the generator itself. It was about $1,000, but once you got into all the emergency costs and electricians to get it wired up, they said it was gonna be about $5,500 for a week. And I assume we're adding about $1,000 a week to that for the generator rental. So just an idea where we're at.
Are
She
we
did
under
give-
contract with them to repair that one?
So we have like a maintenance contract. I think that just is for the maintenance twice a year and it locks in the rate for that preventative maintenance. I'm not sure that it really goes beyond that, but
Well, it's like, now I'm beginning to question because what you told me when you called me about this, it's either an injector pump or we've got seals on a line that's sucking air while that thing won't start. That's not a horrible fix for any diesel mechanic. So I'm wondering maybe we shouldn't call somebody and get a second opinion on what's going on and
Sure.
possibly get parts to somebody else and get it fixed quicker so that you have it back up.
right.
and
And I
running.
will say on the pump, I tried to clarify that. I actually sent an email and they kind of ignored my questions and had a phone call a couple days ago. And she described it as a lift pump. I don't know if that, I don't know,
Well,
something
there's a secondary pump on some, but yeah,
that was showing signs of
get a
wear
s-
and age and, I
I'd
don't know.
get a second opinion.
Yeah, I agree. You're not the only person that said that. They're like, oh, it's an Olympian that's over 20 years old and, it's hard to get the parts for, but on the other hand, like, the diesel engine it is what it is. And so,
Well, it's
Yeah.
not like it runs all the time. It's
Right.
been over there and it's not getting used because it only kicks on to be test run or an emergency. So it's not like it's been out in the field.
no,
running.
I
Yeah.
may be mistaken. I don't even think it has 2,000 hours.
There you
I
go.
think it's 1,000 something, but yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Yeah, it may be at the point, especially with the lack of communication. I mean, if someone else could come in and take a look and get a second opinion, maybe we should look into doing that. But at
Okay.
least wanted to update you where we're at. Still got the temporary and kind of up in the air on what the costs are going to be at this point. So,
Yeah, I saw it when I walked by and I thought it's still here. So that wasn't a good sign.
yeah. So I'll try to make contact again. I guess like I said, they've been supposed to get me a quote and been supposed to give me an estimate. I don't have either one of those. So,
Okay.
Is the generator just for 911? What,
it covers the whole basement, 911 and, all the servers and network equipment for the entire county. Yeah, run off of it as well.
So it is kind of critical. That's why when he
Correct.
called, I told him it's fine for him to get a backup generator for now, but I just didn't think it would take this long. to get.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 is that coming from your budget then?
Yeah.
I'd probably said no to him. if he-
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, we'll keep working on it. Just want to give you an update.
Okay, thank you. Nobody from EMS. Mr. Upchurch. Let's see, building inspector, Troy. I think that runs through everybody there. Next up, we have a Interactive Digital Solutions maintenance renewal for our Zoom for $2,131.47. This is from Team DS for maintenance renewal of all the equipment used in the commissioner's room for audio, video, and Zoom equipment. Any discussion?
Just Jeff's rationale that we have increased importance on Zoom and live streaming, so maintaining a support contract is probably a good idea. So make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Begun Baker Tilly. I have a uniform conflict of interest disclosure statement from Steve Kaufman, Liberty Township trustee. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next is an informational from IDEM on Crown Equipment. Their air permits. Just letting us know that they passed all their stuff for the renewal of their permit. Next up is a renewal for the annual drug and healthcare cost reporting. I believe it's $2,000. We renew this every year. Is that correct, Debbie? Do I have a motion on that renewal?
Motion to accept, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. Do we want to do the Ochre contract now? Are you? Okay.
Hello.
Howdy.
My name is Carrie with Administrative Resources, and we worked with you all last year to get a owner-occupied housing grant from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, and that was awarded in December for $500,000. Last year, you had also committed $50,000 of local match to the project, so the total project cost is going to be $550,000. We're now at a point where we're able to present our contract to you to administer that program. So I have that here for your signature, and I'll take any questions that you may have on the contract. I can kind of give you an update where we are right now. We have done the broad level environmental review, which means we have to make the determinations of which agencies may or may not need to be contacted. So that process has already been done. The second step, the environmental, will be working with the State Historic Preservation Office to determine if any home that is going to be assisted is going to be impacted by the State Historic Office. When we do that, we also determine if they're in or around floodplains. So all that information gets done as part of a second tier environmental. What we've also been doing is working on all the applications that have come in and going through and scoring those out. And we've also reached out to the first, I think 15 to 20 applicants on that to start getting their paperwork. So one of the things that they have to do in addition to submitting their application is provide income documentation, proof of ownership, proof of insurance, paid property taxes. So we're working on getting all that information back from some of the homeowners right now. When we have about 5 to 10 homeowners that we've approved to that process, then we will set up an inspection. We'll meet with the homeowners, come out and do an assessment of their home on what they applied for, but we'll look at their roof, HVAC, water heater, see if they need any handicap accessibility like a ramp or railings or anything to their house. One of the things that we'll also be doing, this is a requirement as of last year from HUD, is doing a radon test of each home. So our inspector will do that as well. If any of the homes test positive for radon, we will include that whenever we send items out to bid for quotes. So that way we'll get not only the roof or HVAC, whatever needs done, but any home that has radon, that'll be addressed as well. So all of that gets put into the contract of all the services that we'll do.
Any questions from the commissioners?
I'd make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion's
Thank
been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. And we have the NIHARD agreement. Debbie, do you want to comment on this?
So we do this every year. It's the actuarials of, how do you say it, of all of our insurance. We use this for State Board of Accounts, DCS, anybody else that helps pay. Well, DCS, we get a reimbursement for 40 employees on their insurance. So they use this as well as we have to report it every year on our annual financial report.
So I have a recommendation to accept from the commissioners.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. Next up, Joel, you can weigh in here. I'm just going to read this. We have several council members who requested use of a county phone. That comes at a cost per line. The phone is provided by the council or by the county. And I'll read it. Henry County shall supply each member of the Board of Commissioners with a cell phone for the county conduct of county business. The county shall pay the monthly charge associated with the use of such phone. The phone shall be returned upon the conclusion of the commissioner's term in office. Henry County may supply each member of the council with a cellular phone for conduct of county business. A member of the county council who elects to receive a cellular phone shall reimburse by authorized payroll deduction Henry County for all charges or expenses incurred in the use of the phone and the acquisition of the phone. The phone shall be returned upon the conclusion of the member's term in office. Nothing in this policy shall interpret or require a commissioner or a member of the council to receive or utilize a cellular phone supplied by the county. Any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. I'm going to bring something up. We passed an ordinance before we get to the last thing here. Mud and debris on our county roads. And I have decided that in some of the conversations between my colleagues, if they're on board with this, in order to make this simple and easier, the enforcement part is going to be appointed by the Board of Commissioners. All complaints will come through the Board of Commissioners. We will determine what is justifiable, not justifiable as far as sending someone out. In that process, I would like to appoint the Weights and Measures, Gabe Beatty and Shaylee from the Health Department to enforce any citations or anything that would possibly be issued and notices to those individuals. Now, if it gets to a point where we have conflict, I'll turn it back over to our attorney and law enforcement in order to have it enforced. Now, that being said, I'll repeat what I said when we did this. It is a crying shame that the complaint level has risen to what it has from one individual in one part of our county that forced us to have to do this. This is not, and by any means, meant to deter any farmer from doing their work. So that's why these claims to me will come through the Board of Commissioners. Mr. Kiesling, I understand you may want to address anything. You're more than welcome to come up.
Well, my name's David Kiesling, and I live in the northwest, farm in the northwest part of the county. We grow processing tomatoes for red gold. And in that process, there are times that we drag mud out on the road. And we do our best to keep that cleaned off, but there are periods of time where that's difficult to do. And so I was concerned about this ordinance. A big part of that concern is with the item number 2 here, where it says reliable. With outside people coming in, moving in, and not understanding all the farming process, I'm concerned that maybe not now, but years down the road, that this could be a problem for us or for anyone that happens to. We've had trailers parked on our property off the road and still had people actually hit one of those trailers. So being liable is a big concern for me, I guess. And there's other farmers in that area that feel the same way.
Yeah.
Joel, you want to weigh in on this? Because like I said, this was not meant to deter. We're a farming community, and I get that, and I didn't want complaints because everybody, a dirt clod hits the road.
Right.
The reason this was started was this has been going on for nearly a decade with this individual. And the level of complaints in the last probably year have went through the roof between the highway, the sheriff's department, our office. Gabe was getting them from Weights and Measure. It's just, and even health. Shaley wound up involved in it, brought in IDEM and DNR. So it's gotten out of hand. So something had to be done. And that was the only reason this was brought up. And this was the quickest, easiest way to cover it. And Joel, if I'm missing something.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I drafted it with the intention of making both the owner of the property and whoever dragged the mud, so to speak, on the road in case it happened is I didn't want to get into a situation where you're going to have people pointing a finger at each other. I just wanted to make it like any other property condition type issue where the owner's ultimately responsible for it.
I think this specific property too is creating a traffic hazard. So I don't know if you would describe your situation as creating a traffic hazard on the road. When we first talked about this at our last meeting, that was my comment too, was we don't want to keep any farmers because there is debris that comes out with combines and other equipment. If it's actually making the road impassable, is really the kind of situation that we're talking about right now, where people are being forced to only use one lane and there's limited visibility and there's a concern that there's going to be an accident.
'Cause I have it too, but Gabe has the video just from this weekend of a car going into oncoming traffic as a car came over the hill to stay out of this individual's mud manure trail and almost caused a head-on collision. So that was why this was brought up. There was no intention to limit any farmer from doing their job. And I know with yours is time sensitive because you're required to get that crop in and out at a certain time frame, and you're under contract to do that. So this was in no way intended, and I've had no complaints from you, Dave, at all. So you're not even on the radar screen as far as that part
Well,
goes.
I understand that. I was just,
I think your concern is reasonable. But
Yes.
what happens when there's 3 different commissioners and they have a different opinion about it? And I
Yeah.
completely understand that. I think the language that we modified it to make the word, I think we added hazard. We talked about a gross road issue. I don't have the draft of it in front
Yeah,
of me here.
I think it has to be, the way it was worded was to such a degree or in the manner that it creates a hazard to vehicles or persons on the road. So a small amount of dirt that people can drive over easy or, just other debris that might get on the road from farming operations wouldn't be a violation. It would be the, mud caked on it such that people have to swerve to avoid it or that it cause an accident.
And anytime in anybody, because I had this conversation with Joel, this is a fluid ordinance, can be changed, amended at any time. If those concerns that you have and your neighbors and any other farmer around you, or any place in the county for that matter, by all means, reach out to me. We'll sit down and discuss it and see what we can do to tweak this to make
Okay.
this more plausible or palatable for anybody involved, because it is not our intent to stop you from doing your job. It's
I
just that
understand.
we have a situation, and there was no way to address one situation without having something in place that we had meet to say, hey, you can't do this anymore.
And there is no other way then? I mean, you have to have this in place to even cite for hazards on the road or something like that?
Yeah, there was nothing else in our county code that addressed that specifically.
That was why it took, and this has been ongoing, like I said, for a decade. It's taken us this long to get to this
Yeah.
point. And now that it was brought to the public and it involved, when the health department gets involved and you get IDEM and DNR, then it reaches a state level. And at that point, now we've been made aware it had to be addressed, because then it's like we were ignoring the problem. So at that point, there had to be something done in writing that said, we are addressing this, we are trying to cure it, we are trying to remedy what's going on. This was the quickest way to get something in place. Like I said, it is amendable at any time. So if you have other concerns, feel free to reach out to me. We'll sit down and discuss it and see what we can do to tweak it, make it better. Because I'm open to all suggestions at this point.
Could that possibly happen where if there was an accident, even though we haven't been cited for it, if the ordinance is in place, that we would still be liable for that?
If the condition exists, then yes. Yeah, because it's intended to prevent hazards.
So you're always pretty good about taking care and cleaning yours up. So like I said, I've never gotten a complaint at all.
Well,
from-
yeah, but there's just.
I
you
know.
What if? There's always.
people that push that envelope, and
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
And that's why those complaints, I wanted them coming through this board so that we could address them, because to me, if they're not valid, because I don't want, if your neighbor's mad at you because you blew grass in the road when you're mowing the side edge, I don't want them calling and complaining because I'm ticked off at you and I'm going to file a complaint. Well, I'm sorry, I want you mowing the side ditches and I want them kept clean. Now, if there's 3 foot of debris laying in the road, then obviously we have a problem. If there's a little bit of grass, I don't like it either. I ride a motorcycle. I don't want to hit the grass.
Right. Understand.
But I also understand, I want the ditches to look nice, because if we enforce this, strictly, you're gonna quit mowing side ditches. Now I've got 6 feet tall grass. To me, that's more of a hazard than not mowing. So like I said, it needs to be rational and reasonable, and I think, or I'd like to think, that all 3 of us are of a sound mind.
How are you thinking that the complaints would be handled? Will we talk about it in the meeting, or are we just
I
going to
think
talk offline?
we would just discuss them, because, and I think it's gonna be however it's addressed to you as a commissioner, because you're gonna get a phone call.
We're going to need to
and
go look at it and see how it
That's
looks.
probably what I will do, is go and look at it, or I will ask one of these 2 to look at it and say,
Mhm.
does it warrant the level to where it needs to have a warning done or a citation of some sort? And we may have to tweak that process.
But I still go back to, even though you haven't cited us or cited someone through the committee, if that ordinance is in place, can we still be held liable?
We could talk about if that's our intent, because it could be specified.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ordinance requires a warning.
It requires a
I understand.
warning.
Right, yeah.
We could make it more clear that liability occurs after citation, if we wanted to do that. I mean,
Because I guess my question would be, if there was no ordinance, and
you'd still be
let's
liable.
take you out of the picture.
Right.
If something happened out where the complaint we've been getting, if it caused an accident or fatality, that person would be liable anyway, wouldn't, or could be taken to court. So that part really wouldn't change if it happened now.
Wouldn't alter civil.
Yeah, so the civil liability is still going to be in place whether we had the ordinance or not. You know, it's unfortunate we live in a society where that's the first go-to is to, yeah, and I hate that, because we don't seem to have rationalization or common sense anymore. It seemed to have went out the window. Or as I commonly tell everybody, it's down at Kroger on side of a milk cart. It's been missing for a while. But,
Do you think more liability then once the ordinance is in place? You think?
Potentially because violation of a regulation can be used as.
Right,
evidence. So,
right.
so yeah, I mean, potentially it might make it easier if we make it a case, but in the absence of the ordinance, that wouldn't necessarily alleviate some liability.
is there anything we can do to possibly?
Sort of the same thing like speeding. I mean, if you're speeding, you're
Yeah.
driving at an unreasonable speed, you're more likely to be liable. Even if there wasn't, even if you're not violating the speed limit, but at the same time, if there's a speed limit you're violating, that can be used as evidence of the act.
Is there some language we could look at to possibly mitigate the liabilities to ease? Because you're gonna, fall of year, you're gonna have farmers with trucks and stuff along the side of the road. I know this was a concern in Hancock County where
The
they were
roads aren't
talking
wide
about
enough to get off.
runoffs
Right.
for farmers, so they weren't blocking roads. I think they had a fatality over there. And I think that's what inspired that to come into place where they wanted runoffs off of the road. The farmers had that used to keep semis off the road because I think there was a semi parked, if I remember correctly, it's been years ago that a vehicle came over and couldn't go around because another vehicle, and they were traveling fast enough, they couldn't get stopped and hit the vehicle, and it resulted in a fatality, if I remember correctly, but,
Oh.
these are things, that's why, it's a fine line. And how we get past it to where, like I said, because this was never intended to punish you for doing your job, because I grew up farming. I know that there are times of years that you have to get in and out, and there's going to be weather conditions that's going to dictate what you do. Normally, those complaints don't come from a one time or a week or so out of the year. This here was consistent, and it's been going on, like I said. And I keep reiterating, it's a crying shame we got to this point. And I hate the fact that we have to do it. I just don't know what other recourse we have as commissioners to alleviate that issue without putting something in place, because we can't name the ordinance after whoever violates it, that we'd be in trouble, but that's kind of where we're at. But yes, if you have other concerns or your neighbors or whatever do,
Yeah,
by
let's
all
keep
means,
talking
please
about it.
bring them to us and we'll see what we can do. We'll amend or tweak. to
For
make
years,
this-
I've observed Mr. Kiesling's farming operation and for years I've been made aware of the situation that this ordinance was created for, and there's no comparison. It
No.
was, when I spoke with Mr. Kiesling earlier on the phone, and he even told me what he's done at times to appease some of his neighbors, and he's doing the best he can, but he has a situation where he's got to work the dirt. He's got to get those tomatoes in, and we
Yes.
appreciate what you do.
Yes, very much so.
And it was never seeing the evolution of this particular ordinance was never designed to harm or impede your operation. It was strictly what we felt like we needed to do in order to take care of one problem, and that's where we are today.
But yeah, more than happy to listen to, if you got a concern, and we can try to come to some resolution in that we can tweak or amend our ordinance, more than happy to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, do you want to tell people what you have done in the past to appease your neighbors?
No, then everybody will want him to do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have a resolution for the disposition of surplus property. I was approached by the town of Caddis. They wish to acquire two of the former sheriff's vehicles that were discarded over in this lot over here. I'll just read it to you. Henry County recently determined that it no longer needs automobiles, VIN number I'm not gonna read all the VIN numbers. Town of Caddis is in need of vehicles used as the town marshal and deputy town marshal, and they wish to acquire these vehicles, whereupon Indiana Code 5-22-22-10 permits local governmental units to exchange personal property upon terms evidenced by resolutions adopted each local governmental unit, and whereas Henry County and Caddis have agreed upon the terms of transfer of the vehicles, now therefore it be resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Henry County, Indiana as follows: vehicles shall be transferred to the town of Caddis for no consideration. This resolution shall become effective upon adoption and substantially identical by the town of Caddis, or town council of Caddis, Indiana, authorizing the acquisition of these vehicles. I do have with this the resolution that was signed by the town of Caddis and their board. So all we need to do is approve this resolution. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Do I have any other comment from the public? And I believe I'm getting ready to get one.
Not on this, just on the previous. Angela
Okay.
just wanted me to clarify on the previous, the road that we were going to be backing up, Gabe, and we don't have a way to issue the citations, so those are going to come from.
I'm going to get with Joel and we're going to get that all ironed out to make
Okay.
it official because yes, that's a part of that fluid.
Okay.
With this ordinance was to try to get all those parts in place.
Yep.
But I just wanted to make sure that you guys were okay. That's why I asked you first if you were willing.
Yes, we would be
because-
willing to go out and, follow up Gabe and take
Okay.
pictures and document the complaint. But as far as the citation, sounds like that's fluid. Just wanted to clarify.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes, send them to the Board of Commissioners. This way that takes it off of you guys and for now takes it off the Sheriff's Department till it becomes a legal deal to where we have to involve them. But other than that, this way that takes it off your guys' plates. That puts it back on us. And then we'll determine at that point whether we need to send them out and what's a complaint or somebody's just mad at their neighbor.
I have a couple things.
Yes.
Could we add language to the effect when we talk about the road hazard? Normal debris resulting from normal farming operations in a rural community are not included. I mean, something to,
that's fine.
I don't know if it,
that's the intent of it, so we can make
okay, something to that.
Because that
effect.
was the intent, yes.
Step one,
Yeah.
Still fluid, but. Okay, and I had two other questions. Did we need to approve approve having someone go inspect the 4-H barns? Do we need to approve a
I'm in the
contract
process
for
of,
that?
I don't think so.
Is it going to be free? Is it going to be?
Oh, well, no, it's not going to
Okay.
be free. We're
Do
going to
we- but
figure
we
out.
don't-
I don't have any
you don't
quotes
have a
or
quote
anything
yet?
to produce yet.
So we don't have anything to
No.
approve yet, but you're working on that?
Yes.
Okay. And then I had brought up the possibility of modifying the job description for the maintenance technician position. And I wanted to ask if I would make a motion that we pause and review the job description for the maintenance technician position. I guess I would make a motion now, as I've already talked to both of you about it, that we would pause and review the job description for that maintenance technician position.
At this point, and I discussed this a little bit with you when you suggested it, I don't have the extra money in the budget and neither does the council, and I don't think they have the appetite to approve one. The job description for the maintenance department, still, most of those things still have to come through this board. So I personally am unwilling to change what we're doing at this point because financially, I don't think it's prudent. Most of the things that are on your job description, and I didn't get a chance to review both of them, so you sent it yesterday. The part that I'm more concerned with is we still have to authorize what they do. And now you're wanting me to approve basically for a person just to sit over there to direct them when I wanted people to actually be able to do the job. So I guess I'm a little concerned with that. And I haven't had a chance to review what Addie did or said. And we just got it yesterday and I only got partway through it.
Okay. So a couple of the things that I would, I know that you want someone to do the work and I completely understand that. I would like to see better maintenance records kept and someone that would keep those electronically actually as part of their job. That they would inspect buildings, that they would keep records of the maintenance that needs to be done, when the maintenance was done, all maintenance agreements. And I so far haven't seen that type of information kept. And sometimes we have repairs, something's broken and someone doesn't know that it's been broken for a while. And I just think that someone that had the skill set to do more record keeping and would be helpful.
Most of the time, most of the things that you're referring to, that when I found out about it, the reason they were left broken was we didn't have the money to fix them. And that was part of the reason they didn't get fixed at that time. And Debbie, you want to weigh in on some of these, the electronics, the contract
So
keeping?
as far as all the maintenance agreements and everything, that's in your, that's with your secretary. We have all of that. They're in their own separate file. We have all the quotes, we have all the contracts. You already have all of that information because it has to be kept in the commissioner's office.
Is
So
it,
you do have all of that.
is it in electronic format?
We could do that. It's never been done, but we have it all in file. It wouldn't be that hard for her to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an example that, we had part of the HVAC in here was broken for a period of time. No one knew. I sat through several different bonding processes where we were looking at building repairs and it was never brought to our attention at that time that something was broken. I think that there are just things that go overlooked because it's not someone's job to keep those records and continue to bring them to the attention of decision makers who are making funding decisions. And so I think that sometimes, I heard the analogy once that you step over a $100 bill to pick up a penny. If improved management of repairs, I mean, that could save money in the long run, if we're tracking things and managing them. So for this year, we have money in the budget for an increased salary because we haven't yet filled this open position. And then it would be an incremental increase next year that we would have to go talk to the council about to see if they're interested in. But I see this as an issue where additional oversight could make improvement. And we talked about the Sally Port over at the Justice Center, why that wasn't fixed when there was money in the Justice Center bond, and why those of us on the council didn't know that it needed to be fixed, and no one brought that need to us to discuss when we were bonding for different repairs. There are things that are being overlooked because it's not someone's job to keep track of them and continue to bring those needs.
Actually, Ken always, that falls back, I think, on the commissioners and them not communicating. Anything that's broke, and I'll ask anybody back here, the maintenance are the first people we call. They know everything. And I've never not known them to report to the commissioners if something was broke. I mean, they've
But-
always done that in the past.
Yeah.
Sitting on the
So
council.
there's many repairs over the last 20, 30 years that when I was commissioner, we didn't know about, and I'm sure there'll be more repairs that in the next 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, that nobody knows about, that things are broken. Just like the water softener has been broken for 20 years. There's a lot of things that didn't get repaired because there was no money. And then it just gets, okay, there's no money 20 years ago. That gets in the back of their mind and they don't think about it because 20 years ago they brought it up. My only other concern is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the council may have passed something last year that any job description changes, any communication with Wagner and Shealing has to go through the council.
That's possible.
I'm almost pretty sure, Debbie. I think you made the motion to do it, but,
Okay.
so I would suggest that you go to the council.
Okay.
I'll say, to me, we're adding another layer of government when we're going to be hit with all these decreases in revenue, and I just don't think it's practical or plausible. I don't mind staying in charge of this stuff, and as these things have come up, we fixed them. When the HVAC, when I found out it was broken, made arrangements to get it fixed, we got it fixed. When I found out Sallyport was messed up, I didn't realize it was in our scope of work for the DLZ project for the renovations. So I reached out to get quotes to get it done. I found out it was addressed years ago when the floor started leaking by putting another false ceiling into the room above the server. And my thought was, when you're looking at $1 million worth of server products in that room, for me, if we had to spend $50,000 to fix the floor, it was cheaper than replacing servers. And that was the reason that I initiated getting someone out to give us quotes, found out it was in our scope of work. They did it. We moved it up in the timeline to help get that problem alleviated so it did not cause another issue. I think as commissioners, that's part of our responsibility and job. And so that's the way I look at it. And like I said, it's a board of three. If you two don't agree with me, then fine. You make the motion and it gets seconded and passes, then we'll do whatever. But I felt like we've had two maintenance guys forever. One of them just retired. The other one is at that point in his career that he can. So we finally got it approved after asking for several years to get a little extra money in there to have a third maintenance person. Hopefully we can get somebody in there so that before our other one leaves, able to kind of train them on some of these, knowing where to tap something to make sure it keeps working, so to speak. Then we can continue and it'll be a fluid transition with those people, because I don't know where we're going to come with the extra money. And a couple of the council members that I had discussed this with, they're not sure they have an appetite to give more money right now with all the decrease in revenue streams. And I'm in a tendency to agree with them, because I don't know what next year or the next 3 years with the loss of revenue that we have, how we're going to sustain what we're doing now. So I have a very big concern over that. And if something changes in the state legislature's decision-making and our governor, then we'll revisit it. But right now, I'm not sure I'm on board with us changing this. But like I said, if you want to make the motion and it gets second, we'll go
So
from there.
I'll reiterate my motion and leave it on the floor that we would just pause the posting and the hiring of the maintenance technician position to consider the possibility as council and commissioners of broadening this job description.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Hearing none, motion dies for lack of second.
I feel like we have a number of applicants that have applied for the position that's been advertised, and I think we need to move forward and fill that position.
That being said, anything else from the public? Hearing none, entertain motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you, people.
There you go.
Mark is gonna sign, then I'll have Debbie.
By the way,
pass, and I'll leave.
I do charge 50,000.